Eagle 6 in the track.
Roger.
Over 1 bombs away. 1's going to climb high above 20. You're south.
Eagle 6 radar contact. Eagle 6 is visual.
And it goes left.
Welcome back to the DCS SITREP, everyone. I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog. This is the news show about the world's premier combat flight simulator for the home PC. It's DCS World, and it's designed, developed, and produced by Eagle Dynamics. This week we talk the dynamic campaign, something I get requests for information about on an almost weekly basis. And Heatblur talks Microsoft flight simulator modules that they are building, and advice that they'll be revealing more information about their DCS modules in the near future. That is, ones outside of the F4 Phantom 2. So let's turn to the dynamic campaign information and what ED is wanting to tell us and reveal about the work that they have been doing and the work that they continue to do on this important feature of the game, which we are eagerly awaiting. This has been a massive undertaking, they have said, and they are making steady progress in both the strategic and tactical elements of this module. This is the outline of the development tasks that they were willing to share. Work continues, they say, to configure ground AI forces command and control. There are three main systems: the border and frontline system, navigation based on terrain and surface type, and a multi-level formation system. These are combined into one code for the final fine-tuning of ground combat. The decision-making system for ground force objectives is being tested and refined as a function of force size, unit locations, and the general objectives of the coalitions. To improve ground forces movement calculations, a mechanism was created for the DCS DC engine that optimally analyzes routes between points while taking into consideration roads, terrain, and potential travel speeds across different types of surfaces. A navigation mesh editor is also being developed to allow campaign creators to modify all terrains to suit their needs. They believe these components can be applied not only within the dynamic campaigns, but also for non-dynamic DCS missions and campaigns. And no doubt that will have perked up the ears of the content creators in that area. Now, testing of the Integrated Air Forces command and control of DCS DC into DCS continues. This includes both the creation and functioning of the missions and optimization of different mission task flight profiles. Looking ahead, there will be tests made for all components of the strategic AI troop control and player participation. That's sort of promising. Testing of dynamic campaigns has resulted in a new tracking system that allows a detailed accounting of actions and behaviors. This is critical to the debugging process, of such a complex task. The current DCS track file system has also been expanded with the ability to store RTS layer information. The resulting systems will also allow you to review campaign events and provide a DCS DC active save system. This active save system will allow you to resume saved games and rewind time to replay an unsuccessful episode of a campaign. So there was, a lot to unpack. It doesn't answer, of course, the basic question that everyone is asking: when are we going to actually see it in game? What we can take away from this, I think, is that they appear to have some sort of functioning dynamic campaign that they can watch unfold, and now it's a matter of fine-tuning some of these complex systems. It does highlight the savage amount of work needed to effectively compose programming which allows the ground units to operate in a realistic fashion. Not only do they have to fight realistically, but they also need to move through the terrain in a logical fashion, as they indicated, in terms of responding to terrain features and obstacles. Remember that ED highlighted recently the changes being made to ground units' probability of seeing and responding to airborne threats, for example, and in past newsletters on the topic, they've also talked about generating realistic unit behaviors based on command structures for a particular unit, the way in which that particular force is trained, for example, and structured. and also, as I said, the aforementioned terrain behavior. So it seems, as I said, we have some sort of working system in contrast to pure terms like in development or being development, although there were aspects within that blurb that talked about things being developed, like the terrain mesh, for example. So there's still, I guess, a lot of work to be done. I'm interested to see how they implement the command and control system that they mentioned there for airborne combat and tasking profiles that have to be created in order to respond to specific threats in a realistic fashion. I was excited to see, though, work being done on the DCS replay track file system, which has improved, but it still needs some work. We can't go backwards, for example. You can't roll forward and control the way in which the track file flows. It's sort of one direction only, and you have to reload the track file if you want to record some specific things, which content creators like myself do on a regular basis, and I'm sure those of you who have used it for that purpose will understand what I'm talking about. That's not a great tool as yet for, pure recording and things like that, but anything that enhances that is going to be good for the game. And obviously the improvements that are being made, if you like, for the dynamic campaign will be ported back into DCS core. I'm still, though, aware that there's going to be plenty of unanswered questions that this blurb generates from community members, and feel free to plonk those questions and comments and observations in the comment section below. We don't have any mention of the ATC component, for example, whether or not this will be a Caucasus specific module. In other words, will it work on the other maps that we have? Will it be DCS maps? Will it be any of the maps? Again, and the bottom line is we also don't know when or how long it's going to take for it to be ported into DCS as a module. Nonetheless, it was interesting to see, as I said, some commentary on a working form of this, which is a lot more than perhaps we've seen in the past. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Well, after the previous big patch earlier this month, there was a lot of frustration regarding performance issues from many of the community members, including VR, but also non-VR users as well. They ranged from stuttering and FPS loss to basically DCS not even launching for several of you. Some reported issues with the mouse and the new launcher system as well. And of course, there were the deactivation of modules like Flaming Cliffs 3, and then actually after this hotfix that was introduced earlier this week to fix some of these things, there was an issue with both the Flaming Cliffs 3 modules being deactivated, and then it also affected Afghanistan as well. Fortunately, that has been fixed. So let's have a little look at what the hotfix patch rectified, which was introduced earlier this week if you were unaware. Remember, you will need to run the non-multi-threading launcher to get any updates into the game. So starting with the launcher, that required only Latin characters in the path. That has been rectified, and that may have been why some people were having some issues with it. Oculus controllers, they fixed the controller connection. They fixed the quad view FOV bug for the Pimax. Multiplayer had issues with special characters and pilots' names. That's been fixed. Disabling the F11 free camera in DCS options led to a black screen for tactical commander slots and multiplayer. That's been fixed. Landing and takeoff events were not registering. That's been fixed. Some textures on Afghanistan terrain are not displayed in the trial version. That's been fixed. AI aircraft, so some World War II AI will not engage in combat in some cases, so that's been rectified. Voice chat full radio wasn't working in dynamic slots. That's been fixed. Partial fix for lag based on high poll rate mouse movements, something that we kind of mentioned there before. Server crash when player controlling ground vehicle disconnects. That's been fixed. Signal flares affect adjustments for FLIR. Spotting dots. Now in the previous update they adjusted this behavior that many of you noticed. This is still very much work in progress and is being adjusted. Feedback on that is being monitored. We talked about this. Flaming Cliffs 3 user authorization issues have been resolved. Please contact support though if you're still experiencing these issues. There's still some known issues. DCS crashes when using the new VR meta beta V68 drivers with OpenXR toolkit. Trial versions of products don't show in the launcher. Helicopter cargo operations and multiplayer, so there's rope bug issues there, so those need to be corrected. There was a fix for the Viper, crash rearming F-16C in some cases, and also for the F-18C, They fixed the air-to-ground target diamond, wrong location on the HUD, and jittering. You cannot exit AACQ or bump AACQ in bumped mode. Possibility of crash when using the targeting pod and the laser. So there were some fixes for some of the campaigns. For those following the Gamblers campaign, however, that was injected with the last big patch, it's likely that those issues will be addressed in a future patch to be determined by both Baltic Dragon and obviously Eagle Dynamics, it being a brand new campaign. Baltic, remember, was still setting up his office, so he hadn't gotten back to work, although a lot of these issues with the new campaign have been logged through his Discord channel. A flurry of discussion, reporting back some issues here and there. So again, if you're having issues, check with the forum sections there in his Discord, but expect some patch updates in the future.
Tiger 3-1, Chalice with words. 0 tanker planned. Weezo, Rancho, and yourselves took off late. Rolex, plus 10 Mike. Sword 4-1 is -1. Phaser 1-1 is -1. Full up war, how copy? Rolex plus 10.
Let's look now at those exciting announcements from Heatblur Simulations this week, who posted in a recent Facebook/Discord post that they had announced the following, starting with their proud announcement that they are developing the venerable F-16 together with India Fox Echo for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Remember, the team have already worked together, or the two teams have worked together in the past. So based on exclusively new rich library of laser and photogrammetry scanning data, they are working hard to recreate the Falcon to the absolute highest levels of visual fidelity. The F-16 will be their second partnership to produce an aircraft with IFE after the release of their F-14 late last year in December. They're excited to share the journey of recreating this ubiquitous favorite and finally place Microsoft Flight Simulator pilots in the cockpit of an accurately recreated Viper. So that's really good news for Heatblur. It obviously boosts their visibility as a company. Whatever they do in Microsoft, for players unfamiliar with DCS, is probably a good thing, I think. So it benefits certainly them, but it also benefits DCS, if you get my meaning. Now, the Microsoft Flight Simulator F-16 will initially focus on the A variant, the very original form of their purebred fighter, they say, but over time they expect to move through the Viper family as resources allow. So that's good news, gives them some longevity and legs in that particular franchise. They want to thank us for the support and the excitement. They can't wait to share more with us. Pretty cool. Now, here's what we're more interested in, at least for the DCS purists, and that is the announcement that are going to give us more news and an update on the DCS Eurofighter, the A6E, the F4, F-14 and other products. They're full steam ahead on all fronts as they push towards the end of 2024, they say, and their current focus is on the development of the Eurofighter, shipping the A6AI and starting to backport various improvements to the F-14, as well as improving the F-4 post the last major patch. So mixed information there. No news if the A6AI is going to be shipped this year. I hope it is. They've been talking about this for a while. We'd love to see that AI in game. So that will replace the A6 that's currently in the game, I believe, similar to their 3D model for the F4 replacing the Eagle Dynamics version in game. So there's a lot to look forward to, and as I said, I really am excited about what Heatblur is doing. They produce excellent modules, and producing excellent modules across two different franchises is really good for both teams. Like I said, it's a way of advertising what they're capable of. Obviously, remember, there's nothing at this time to do with combat in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So for those players that are over there looking to get a little bit more of a visceral experience, well, you need to pop back into DCS World and see what an F-14 and an F-16 can do in anger. So good stuff. Well done, Heatblur. So that basically is it for this week's newsletter. Thanks again for tuning in. This probably will be the last DCS for a couple of weeks while I return to New Zealand to catch up with family, recharge the batteries, decompress a little bit, and see what the future brings for the remainder of the year. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the likes, the subscribes, and the comments in the comment section. I enjoy the feedback. Once again, we'll see you in the very near future. Have a good summer. This is Prickly Hedgehog out. Cheers.
Checking in as fragged.
Awful 1 Cowboy, please bear contact. Range up number 2983, full potential, stand by for words.
Awful 1.
Awful 1, word Alpha Chart, enable Hotfix. Cowboy will come to gas on ground 5.